If you're feeling overwhelmed, anxious, or disconnected, you're not alone. I'm Dan Roberts, an internal family systems therapist and trauma healing specialist. I create guided meditations to help you reconnect with your inner calm and compassion. These practices are rooted in internal family systems therapy and are designed to support your healing journey, whether you're new to therapy or have been on this path for a while. You can find my full collection of meditations at danroberts.com or on Insight Timer.
Everyone, look away if you're superstitious, because it's episode 13. She had no clue.
What are you on about?
It's episode 13, so I thought, I have OCD, I don't want to talk about it anymore.
What, do you not like 13? I thought Jam's got 13 tattooed on her.
Yeah, she has. Why is that? Wait, is this we started?
Yeah, why not?
Whatever. Anyway, superstition. I've got odd socks on anyway, but it's a good combination.
Combination.
As we were, good grief, episode 13. Today is about permanence, which is quite a deep topic. We were just saying that to your neighbour, weren't we?
Yeah.
As if we don't talk deep all the time. But yeah, do you wanna kick off? Shall I kick off?
I don't mind. Up to you.
Alright, let's look at the first point. Well, I mean, the permanence of grief is about something that is the death, because when someone dies, you never see them again.
Or the end of a relationship.
Sorry.
We include all grievers.
Yeah,
here.
inclusive grief. So it is essentially mourning something that you're never going to have again. And if we're talking bereavement, which we mostly will be, actually it's probably a 50-50 split today.
Yeah.
We'll start with bereavement, it is the realisation that you're not going to see someone again. And we were saying earlier that for me, I'm almost 6 years, 5.5, 6 years, whatever, into my journey, and I still can't grasp the fact that I'm not going to see or talk to my dad again, and it makes me sad. Like, even though that's almost a given, I think when you think of grief and like you say you've lost someone, the obvious thing is that you're not going to see them again, but I think it's still so difficult to get my head around. And for you, obviously, so early into your journey, that must still be... Can you fathom that?
Yeah, I think that is the thing that probably upsets me the most when I get upset. It's like thinking about the fact I'm never going to hear Vince's voice again, other than, on videos. I'm never going to see him again, never be able to hug him again. And I still find that, like, if I'm walking down the street, I was going to start singing after them.
No,
you're walking down the street. Sidetrack. I just find that, like, I could see someone that looks a little bit like Vince, Leonardo Messi, for example. I'm in a silly mood today.
Leonardo Messi.
Do you know that Vince, when he went to Germany, this is going to be so off track, I could just already tell this episode. Because Vince always used to, when he went abroad in Europe, people used to say that he looked like Messi.
Right.
So much so that in Germany, he like met some guys and they like were taking selfies with him, like Messi, because they all just thought he looked like him. So yeah, little side note. So yeah, when I see Messi walking down the street, which is all the time, I think that's Vince.
Yeah.
But it ain't. But no, I feel like it is. I think that's the hardest thing to get your head around, isn't it? With like any kind of loss, that like you're not gonna have them in your life anymore, and like, yeah, it's just reading back through messages and looking at pictures, and it's just like that. Like, I mean, the permanence of it. Just the end of it.
Yeah, it's something that I don't think anyone who's lost someone. I'll talk from bereavement because I mean, that's where we'll start. I'm sure we'll get into other topics, but I mean, I think that people. What makes grief so difficult to talk about is the permanence of it, because how the hell do you try and support or uplift someone when there is nothing that can fix it? It's not like, I don't know, I don't want to use a breakup as a term because we are going to go into sort of broken relationships and stuff, but I mean sometimes I've been through breakups, everyone's been through breakups, and you have this sort of thing where you're like, well, you can find someone else, and I think that obviously with grief, but it's so unique in the terms of like there isn't going to be another edition of that person. And whereas in a relationship, a romantic relationship I'm referring to, is you might find someone that can offer you what you thought you'd never have, but you're never going to find, I'm never going to have another version of my dad. You might have other father figures in your life, but like when it's your dad, it's like, and they're gone, it's like, fuck. Like,
and I think as well, like the fact that you've just said that, I remember when in some of the earlier days someone said to Mum that like she understood her loss of Vince because she went through a divorce, and it was like, oh my god, it's not the same. Like, I understand, obviously I've never been through a divorce, freshly married, hopefully that would be
turn it off.
But yeah, I think it's very different, isn't it? Because ultimately with that person, you've come to a decision, whether you like it or not, that you're ending that relationship in a divorce terms. But if you've lost a partner, that's completely out of your control. So it is very different. I think it's quite damaging when people try and compare. Like,
I think it's human nature to naturally compare yourself to other people's bad situations, because that's how you can find comfort, by being through, look, I've been there and I promise it's going to get better for you. But with loss, the last thing you want to hear is like, oh, I get what you mean because of I went through a divorce. Or sometimes even when it is comparing loss to loss, it's like, yeah, I get what you mean because my whatever passed away. And it's like, no, because it's so unique. I can't compare me losing my dad to you losing Vince, because it's so unique. And it's not just in the way that they've passed or something. Like, what Vince means to you isn't what my dad means to me, and vice versa. Like, you know, it's just so completely unique. And I think when you realise that there is the permanence of it, how is there an answer to it? There's no answer to something that can't be changed.
Yeah, I think we were talking earlier about like the permanence comes in so many waves and like ways of thinking about it. And like at first it is obviously the realisation that you're not going to see them again, but then you start to think about all the things they're going to miss. Like, obviously Vince missing my wedding, just about to buy my first house, like all of those things. Equally, me and Haz don't want kids at this stage, but if we ever did want kids, like, you know, growing up without them meeting those key people in your life, or like seeing you go through those huge life changes, like you're getting married next year, obviously your dad's not going to be there. It's really hard, isn't it?
It's tough. And like, you know, we went to our wedding venue, forget Chandler, went to the wedding venue, and it was just like, I don't know, actually me and Mum got out the car and there was a feather on the floor, and my mum was like, look, and I was like, at first I was like, seagull feather, and then I was like, oh no, and she went, Dad, and I went, oh yeah. But like, it's just like, it's bittersweet because like, you know, like Mum could have bought her partner and stuff, but I felt quite sad seeing Mum on her own, because like she's not that sort of person. She's sort of like, I mean, she might be, but I mean, I found it quite hard because I was like, when you imagine yourself getting married as a kid, it's always like, for me, I mean, my parents were together when they passed away. It was always like, when they passed away, fuck, sorry Mum, I've just killed my mum off. This is a carnage episode, isn't it? Sorry Mum. No, like, you just imagine it'll be like, oh, like your mum and dad are there. And so I was quite sad seeing my mum going round on her own, and she won't be on her own at the wedding, of course she won't, because she'll be with her partner. But obviously your mum she wasn't alone at your wedding, she was wrapped up with love. But that must have been really hard for you, the permanence, almost realising it then, reliving it again, that he wasn't there. Like,
yeah, I think that was the same for my mum. Like, she did so well, I think. I didn't know she got upset at all. Obviously everyone got upset when we were talking about Vince in detail, because you know, he was mentioned in the vows and the speeches, and her speech was beautiful. But yeah, I think she did really well to get through the day. She did say at the end she took herself off because she was upset. But yeah, it was, I guess the build up to the wedding was surrounding the fact that like Vince was meant to be giving me away, like all of this, and you know, even putting up the pictures the day before and seeing everyone come together, it just felt like it was such a big hole, like where he should have been. And I do think he was definitely with us on the day, and it was beautiful, but I feel like every time I look through the wedding photos, I relive the fact he's not there.
I loved the picture. I mean, it was just so powerful of your cousin looking at the pictures of Vince, and you could tell obviously he was just there by his own accord. It wasn't like, let me get a picture of this. He was just there taking it in, and I feel like you could really feel the emotion, and I think that leads quite nicely into what we were saying about pictures and the importance of taking pictures, because, you know, as morbid as it seems, and this is, believe it or not, we've just literally been pissing ourselves, but this is a morbid podcast for a morbid subject, and I think that sometimes you do need to realise that pictures one day is all that we're going to have of each other. And, you know, I have said before on this podcast that I get really sad and frustrated sometimes, because I'm like, how have I lived 22 years of my life with my dad, and I've got a few pictures that I have. Like, obviously I've got loads from when I was a child, but like, you know, when you grow up, you're like, oh, I'm too cool to take a picture with like this and all this, and like, oh, I don't look good enough today, I'm not going to take a picture. And then when they're gone, you're just like, God, I wish I took that photo.
So agree. And I want to say as well, Vince was really good at taking photos all the time. He's brilliant at it. So I'm lucky to have quite a few. I would have wanted more, just me and him. But one thing I found really, really frustrating since Vince died, and this is at WhatsApp, this annoying platform that deletes photos up to a certain period. So I go on my chat with Vince after he died. Like, you know how in the first few weeks you're just searching
For something.
through boxes, through just your camera roll. You're just trying to find like every little ounce of that person to kind of be closer to them because they're not there. And I went through Vince's and mine chat on WhatsApp, and the photos are just like darkened out at a certain stage because it only holds so many photos. So like, I've lost years of history with him, and I did the same on my mum's chat, and my mum was devastated about it, but I've looked into so many different things, and you can't get them back, and it's like, it's almost so annoying because it's like, there is one here, but I'm not going to show you what it is.
Guess
like,
what's behind this door?
It's
deal
so
or no
cruel.
deal. It's like,
so cruel. Like, and to be fair, it might not be pictures, but even if it's not pictures of you and them, like, it's
so you've shared
in
together.
your chat,
Yeah.
So that was something that I really struggled with. So I guess advice on that is take loads of photos on your phone, store them in, you know, a cloud drive or whatever, and print them out. There's nothing better than printed photos, I feel.
I got Jam, was it for your birthday? I got Jam for her birthday, because she made the point. I mean, Jam's, believe it or not, she's a social media account manager and does this whole thing, but she hates social media. She hates having things just on her phone and nothing else, because she's a firm believer that one day it's all gonna get lost.
Conspiracy theorist.
No, honestly, she really is. So for her birthday, I got Jam this massive box, and I categorised each thing and printed pretty much every photo out. And most of the photos are not ones that I'd go, you know, when I was like maybe 10 years ago and go like, oh, this isn't Instagram worthy. Like, most of them aren't, but they're like our favourite photos, and I think that like,
it's so special to have them like categorised as well and look through them.
Yeah, and like things like that just mean so much more, because sometimes, like, you know, I don't want to think about it, but it's true. Like, one day you will just have photos of each other and photos together, and your memories. I mean, that we can all think about our memories, but the only way to, like, you know, physically have it is a photo. And I think it's really changed how, I mean, we haven't got many photos together, and the ones we have, I mean,
yeah, they're not our best angles.
Yeah, we're not talking about the photo. Anyway, yes.
But we need to take more photos.
We do, and everyone needs to take photos. It can be photos of nothing. I mean, like, I take photos of my cats, like, 24/7, because I remember, like, I lost my family cat, like, earlier this year, and I remember, like, I hadn't lived with, he was called Patch, rest in peace Patch, but I hadn't lived with him since uni, and I had all the photos that I'd taken with him since uni. I remember going through them and thinking, like, oh, I'm so glad that I have these, because, like, you know, I mean, loss is loss at the end of the day, and it's the same as, like, I mean, it's difficult when you lose friendships, but I've got friendships that I don't have anymore, and I've still got all the videos and the memories of them, because they're parts of my life that I'd never erase, and it's taken me some time to be able to look at them, but now I can look back at them and genuinely, like, I'm literally grinning, like, laugh, because I'm like, that was such a great part of my life, and it's not part of my life anymore, but I've got the memories to go with it. So yeah, document everything, guys,
and
like,
take videos, because we were saying we're lucky we've got videos of Vince and Brian where they're talking, but so many people have lost someone, a loved one, and they don't have videos, and they forget their voice. You forget their voice over time. Like, I sometimes need to not I don't like do it a lot, but not that I forget what Vince's voice sounds like, but I sometimes have to watch the videos to like really kind of perfect it in my mind.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm only 8 months in, and I do remember his voice so clearly, but I don't ever want to lose that. And I know a lot of people, I've been listening to other grief podcasts, not as good as ours, I must say, whatever. But they speak about the fact that, like, you know, from older generations where they don't have photos and videos, one of the big things is that they forget what they sound like, and like that's crazy to me, forgetting.
Yeah, me too.
What, like, your dad sounds like.
Me
Can
too.
you imagine that?
But you can imagine that, like, that is how it is. I mean, like, it's, as you said, like, losing, like, my dad young is, like, a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing in the sense that I've got 50 million Snapchat videos of him just talking about me working at Sainsbury's and stuff like that, like, and they're ones that, like, I've been able to show Jam and show you, and like they meant nothing at the time. For some reason I saved it, and now they mean everything because it's just funny. And it's comforting. But I mean, also it's bittersweet because I don't, the permanence of grief is what I still struggle with, because even though I am nearly 6 years in, like, I can't get my head around the fact that, like, that is all I have in terms of hearing, and you know, I really crave, like, me and my dad would always, like, cuddle and stuff like that, and I really, like, I know that no hug feels the same as that hug,
so true.
and no smells the same. Like, I can still smell, like, what it's like to, like, you know, someone's smell, like, it's not like a cologne, I've never said that, it's not like a spray and stuff like that, or a shampoo, it's someone's scent, and they're just things of comfort that I still can't get my head around, that I won't have anymore. Like, you know, like, I've got my dad's clothes and stuff, but they don't smell like him anymore, and like, it's tough. Those things are tough, and I think, you know, I know we were having a really tough conversation about you sort of holding the key to passing over that permanence for Oscar.
Yeah, so Oscar, my little brother, so when Vince died, I found out the night, it was like 10:30 at night, and I didn't sleep all the night, obviously. And I went over to my mum's early hours of the morning the next day, and obviously it was completely devastating. And one of the things I did with mum was woke Oscar up, and he's 14, and told him his dad had passed. And that is the hardest thing I've ever had to do, if I'm honest. God, I've never got emotional on the pod yet. Yeah, it was so weird, because I knew that the longer I let him sleep, the longer he didn't know, and it was just really hard, because you had to like ruin his life essentially by telling him that, and like I remember saying to mum, like, we'll just let him sleep for, you know, half an hour longer, just so he's have nice dreams, and yeah, so that was, I think, the hardest thing I've ever had to do, because his life changed forever at that point, and I just remember so well, like, him waking up from his dream and, you know, telling him the worst news ever, and yeah, I think that was really difficult, because you're delivering that permanence, that, you know, that kind of final thing that ultimately changes someone's life
forever, and it changes your life forever, because I mean, how you're never gonna be able to erase that moment, and as like, how, I can't put it into words, I can't articulate how that must have felt. I mean, even just thinking about it makes me upset, and obviously, like, just hearing you deliver it, it's just like, how do you fathom, and how do you prepare for that? I mean, did you prepare for that? I mean, you didn't have long to prepare for it, but I can't imagine.
It was a lot of, like, I think I must have got over to mum's. I know we didn't sleep at all. I can't remember the time I got over to mum's, but I think we had 3 or 4 hours with me and mum and my nan, because she lives at my mum's, first, and obviously there's a lot of crying, but we're trying to keep the noise down because of Oski, and my mum wanted to tell him on her own first, and I kind of just, like, stood in the hallway, and then, like, I ended up going in. But yeah, you don't, like, I can't remember doing any planning. Like, what do you plan for? It was just the worst moment of my life. Like, me losing Vince and hearing that news from my uncle was horrendous. Like, but I think out of all the painful things that happened after that, that was probably the hardest thing I've done, because it's not just impacting your life, but you're changing someone he's so young. Like,
he doesn't need to know these things.
Yeah.
Like, these are the things that you shield him from as your sister, and it's just like, why have I now got to go and tell, like,
Yeah.
I can't, you know, I mean, me and Daisy found out together, so I genuinely, I mean, Daisy's only 3 years younger than me, and I can't, I'm not sort of kicking you when you're down, like, bad luck, Maisie, you had to do that. But I mean, like, I honestly, like, jokes aside, I mean, it's not funny at all, but I just cannot imagine having to deliver, as you said, the message of permanence of, like, sorry, like,
Yeah, I mean, it was with my mum as well, so I don't want to say, like, I did all the delivery.
No,
because,
of
like,
course,
my mum
of
obviously
course,
delivered
but
the message, but yeah, it was, yeah, just being, I guess being in that situation whilst someone's finding out for the first time was...
Oh, and you've just lost your dad, and your mum's just lost the love of her life, and it's like the last thing you really, really need to do is then go and tell a little boy. I mean, I don't want to call Square a little boy, but a little boy, a big man, you know. It's just like, it's just awful, and I mean, I don't know what to say. And I remember we were talking about it earlier, and I was like, well, at least I could lead into something funny when we talk about that, because me and Daisy, when we found out about my dad, I mean, it's so different, because you just didn't expect it. I mean, we did expect it to a degree. We didn't expect it so soon, which I guess is why me and Daisy acted the way we did on the day my dad died. And we laugh about it now, because me and Daisy, I remember, like, we talk about it, and I'm just like, Daisy, I can't believe it. So my mum's out on her birthday morning, and me and Daisy are fighting, calling each other names, and I'm hiding in the bathroom, and the lock doesn't work, and I find out because Daisy boots the bathroom door down and starts beating me, and we hear the door go. My mum comes in, she goes, "Girls, can you come downstairs?" And I go, "No, I'm sick of Daisy, I don't want her to be my sister anymore." Daisy's like, "You're a skank." My mum just goes, "Can you come downstairs?" And I'm like, oh God. We walk downstairs, and I'm like, the vibe's off, and I'm just like, wait, and Mum just goes, "Yeah, dad's died," and I just was like, and like, it goes from like, you fight me, and I don't know what me and Daisy thought about that day, and I don't think she knows either. I mean, Daisy definitely knows, because there's no way she ain't letting that go. But I mean, I remember, like, it almost is like, you know, in movies when they like pan to someone and it goes like, or like a game show and it's like, I literally remember being like, oh my God. And even though I knew my dad was going to die, I never saw him at the hospice, because I couldn't get my head around doing that. To me, that just wasn't a part of my plan. And I think naively, I thought that one day I would. But also, I think I'd made peace with the fact that I didn't want to see my dad like that anymore. But still, it was such a shock for me to then go, like, everything went through my head. Because then I realised, like, oh my God, I'm actually not going to see my dad again. And while I'd kind of hadn't made peace with it, I didn't want to see my dad in the state that he was in. So it's not that it wasn't as sad. But again, it was just like, oh my God, I'm actually not going to, like, Mum's not going to ring me and go, oh, Dad wants to have a word. Yeah. And it's things like that, like, you know, my dad didn't really use a phone as much, but I can't imagine how it was for you with, you know, having Vince as communicative as he was, like, with a text or something, and you realise, like, oh my God, like, this person is going to slip further and further down my text, further and further down my call list, until it's like someone else has their phone number. And
it's so weird, isn't it? I feel like another thing that was really made it feel final, I don't know whether you saw your dad in his coffin.
No, and I know you did.
Yeah, that was so bizarre, like, and that was something I really felt like I needed to do. It wasn't an open coffin, and part of me wanted it to be, because I just wanted to see him again, but I think I'm glad I didn't, because I don't want to see him dead. Like, apparently everyone says they look quite different without, you know, the blood in their face.
I can't imagine.
It was just lifeless, isn't it? And like, Vince was such a full of life person that like to see him lifeless, I don't think I would have wanted to see, and I'm glad I didn't. But also respect anyone who feels like they have to. I was kind of on the edge.
It's so unique, isn't it?
Yeah, I was really on the edge with it. But anyway, I saw him with in his clothes coffin, and that was. I think you kind of need to go through things like this for it to be final in your head, because otherwise your mind is constantly working. I find it helps.
Especially for you, because it really wasn't meant to happen.
Yeah.
It's not like an illness or an older person. Yeah. It's not sort of like the journey of life. It was a tragedy.
Yeah.
And I remember when you told us that you were going to do it, and to me it was like, what? Because I'm so like, I can't deal with that. Like, I just sweep everything, and like just seeing my dad ill was enough for me to go, I can't do this anymore. But I remember you saying it, and when you really shifted my perspective in that sense, because I was like, I mean, I'd never had a friend that had like lost someone that is close to me as you. Like, I just, and when you were saying it, I was like, well, like, I'm not going to convince her not to do it, but I'm also like, is this going to mess up your life? And then I remember you were just like, no, I need that closure. And I was like, it fascinated me. And I remember, like, I'm not saying something shifted in you afterwards, but you sort of, I don't know, from the outside, you were like, I needed that.
I did. I think I had, because of the way Vince died and it being so unexpected and sudden, I had so much I wanted to say to him. I know you're only talking to, you know, his dead body in a coffin, but there was so much I wanted to say to him, and so much, like, and I spent quite a lot of time in the room, and I got really upset, obviously, and I hugged his coffin a lot, and I kissed him, you know, kissed his coffin, and it's so weird. It's such a weird thing, and they seem so small. Like,
I remember you said that.
Yeah, me and Oscar both said the same, because he went and saw him with Mum, and it's just, I kept saying to him, like, how do you fit in here? Like, this box isn't big enough for you. And like Oscar said the same. But yeah, I just had so much stuff that was unsaid. Nothing like that was bad at all. But you know, there's stuff you do as a kid that I remember once when I was a lot younger, I watched a bit too much Trey Speaker, and I like he said something. He told me to do something that I didn't want to do. So I was like, "You're not my dad," and like. Honestly, to this day, I'm like, I can't believe I said that. He was my dad. So like, I apologise for that.
No, but that's you know.
But then like, yeah, I was just angry with him as well. I had a lot of anger about him dying 4 months before my wedding.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
I was fuming at him. I wanted to be like, how fucking dare you? Why you were meant to be walking me down the aisle? Like. Yeah, so I think there was so many different emotions that I just needed to release, and that really helped me. But you know, it's not a nice thing to do. Obviously, it's horrible, but I think it does help. And my mum said the same after she saw him. It did help going through the motions of talking to that person, whether you know it's just their body or obviously not their spirit, but it just helps.
That's interesting on our topic of permanence, because. I sort of, I can't relate in that sense, because again, our stories are so different and we go through grief as an emotion, but I mean, I'm fascinated to learn with the idea of permanence in mind, that you then left what's it called? You know, like where you went and saw him?
The Chapel of Rest.
Yeah, you leave the Chapel of Rest knowing that's what it is now, and you've physically seen it. You knew that's what it was. Anyway, you know that person's gone the same way as I did, but then I didn't have that. So you then leave it, and then what's the rest of your day like?
Well, you just I was meant to go back to work, but I was like, no.
Oh, that is so you. I'm sorry, I'm just got to jump on a client call. Like, that's so you. Like,
yeah, so I didn't go back to work, obviously. I don't really remember. The rest of the day was a bit of a blur, to be honest. But yeah, it was. I just feel like it gives you that final bit, and I think to your point that you've just said, obviously you saw your dad dying, and that gave you that. It's still, as we said, it's still really hard to grasp the fact they were gone. But I think before that, I hadn't actually seen Vince's dead body or anything. So I'd just known he's gone to football and didn't come back.
And then the next minute you're seeing his coffin.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So it gives you, as awful as it is, it gives you that, like, no, this is their body. Because otherwise I'm like, well, I might just gone missing.
Well, I guess as well, because I think a feeling of grief is denial, and I mean, I can't say again, I had the feelings of denial because I think maybe my denial came when I saw my dad when he was very poorly, and I didn't expect to see him like that, and I was like, how the fuck has this got to this, like, and I guess I experienced denial in that way, but I mean, you know, from what you went through, it must have felt, I mean, I know, like, for even like us, like, it felt like a nightmare, and I guess seeing that and being like, that's that now, like, it's real, it puts it really into perspective. It's so weird how, like, we have this conversation, you know, I can't imagine that happening, and it's like, but so many people would be like, I can't imagine like that happening to me, and like, it's the same. I mean, we did say that, like, it's not just about bereavement, because again, like, if you're comfortable with it, like, you've experienced loss in other ways.
So in August last year, I made the decision to cut off my biological dad because of years of, you know, just trauma, basically, and there was, like, a thing that kind of finally helped me make that decision. And I went to therapy just to give me the tools to have that conversation with him. And ultimately, I sent him a long text asking him not to be in my life anymore. And it's weird. I feel like because that happened in August and I was kind of coming to terms with it, and then Vince died in February, that just completely distracted everything that was going on with my dad, obviously. And now I'm 8 months into Vince's passing, I feel like the trauma is coming back up with my dad a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's not surprising. Like,
I think maybe because it's also been a year since that happened, but I'm thinking a lot more about it and, like, the finality of that relationship. And yeah, like, I got really upset this week. I had a really bad start to the week because I just got back from holiday in Capri, which was lovely. And then I was just having a bit of a bad day. I really struggle when I'm not in routine. I think because I've been away so much recently, that does really mess me up. Not that I'm not grateful to go on all these amazing trips, because I am, but I think I'm someone that really needs to be in a routine. So yeah, when I came back, I was on my phone and it pops up on Facebook that it was my dad's birthday, and I was just like, oh god, of course it is my dad's birthday.
Can I just say, Facebook is genuinely a walking trigger warning. Like, why am I getting, like, I mean, like, I have, like, my dad on Facebook, my granddad, and it's just like, say happy birthday, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And, like, I literally remember on my granddad's birthday, someone wished my granddad a happy birthday, and I messaged my mum and was like, who's going to tell him? Anyway, back to you, Facebook.
God, yeah, I know, it's so bad. So yeah, I was like, that kind of triggered me to get upset, and then I was looking through my dad's Facebook, which I shouldn't have done, but sometimes you almost like want to destroy yourself in those moments, don't you?
Yeah,
You
of
just,
course
like,
you do. You want to I think sometimes you want to test that you still have those feelings.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, then I was looking through that, and then yeah, I was really upset. And then it just turned into a spiral of, like, really, really missing Vince. I think because I ended the relationship with my dad, I've obviously always had such gratitude for Vince, him bringing me up, him being in my life for 18 years, and just the amazing man he was. But I had more gratitude for him when I cut off my dad, because I was like, finally I've got the one dad that I need, that loves me, and that is just amazing in my life. I don't need to worry about that man who has hurt me so much, and, you know, has just has messed me up a lot, you know, to be put it bluntly. He has messed up my head a lot. And I just thought, you know, I've got all my, just everything for Vince. You know, he's the man that I should have as a dad. I deserve him. So that, yeah, then for him to die suddenly, it was just like, oh my god, and now I've no dads. So it was weird. It was a weird time, like, to think about the fact that my biological dad wouldn't be at my wedding, and, like, I kept wondering, like, I wonder if he's going to ask me about it because he knows I'm getting married. I wonder if he's going to... Because I remember once, like, he also made a comment about him walking me down the aisle, and this was, like, us leading up to the end of our relationship. And I'm thinking, I love that you think you're expected
Yeah,
when we
both we've seen.
So yeah, I was like kind of dealing with the fact that he wouldn't be there, and then I had to deal with the fact that Vince wouldn't be there either. So yeah, it's been a confusing year year and a bit
for the emotions. For the permanence of it.
Yeah.
Because it is now like, could you have predicted this time? Well, if you cut your dad off a year ago, let's go a year and a half ago, could you predict that this would now be a reality? No. You know, and it's weird because I think, I don't know, for me, when I look back at other times, I'm just like, am I sad? Yeah, I'm devastated. Yeah, I'm gutted that my dad's not here. But I'm also so grateful for this life that I've now built. But my life that I've now built is not with the people that I thought it would be built with. Yeah. And some of that is because of my dad passing, because, you know, I don't naturally, I think whether there's conflict or not, and for me there's no conflict, but it's like naturally just aren't as much in touch with that side of my family, because my dad was the glue. And you know, when my mum moved after my dad died because she just needed a fresh start, and obviously I don't live near there anymore, and it's just like, you know, and I've got new friends as well, like I've moved here, like I've got Jam like since my dad died, and I really struggle with the not being able. I've told you guys so many stories about my dad, and it frustrates me so much, more than even sadness, I'd say. My grief is so frustrating, and I get a lot of anger with the sense that, like, how I can tell you so much about him, but your perception is entirely your own. And you know, I know and I can guarantee that, like, if you had met my dad and you guys had met my dad, you would love him and he would love you. But it's all speculatory, and I know it's like, no, don't, you know, he would have, but it's like, no, it's not. Yeah. It's not true. Yeah. It's not a fact, because he's not here and he never will sort of meet you guys, and I can't get my head around that still. And it's weird to even say that, even though it happened, you know, almost 6 years ago. And I totally resonate with people who lose people, say, you know, 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago, and they say, like, you know, I can't get my head around it, because I just cannot get my head around the fact that I cannot deal and sort of digest the fact that this is it now, like, this is the reality. He's not here, and the people that were there with me are not here anymore. And, you know, I think in turn with the death of someone, you also lose a lot of other people, because I know that I'm probably not going to see a lot of other people again. And while it makes me sad, it's also something that I've learnt with grief, that you've just got to keep moving forward, because the permanence of it can make your life permanent hell as well. Because if you succumb to the pressures of grief, and that doesn't mean that, I mean, if you wholly succumb to the pressures of grief, I mean, like, we have spells of it, and people do have spells of it. A day can be a bad day, but it doesn't mean it's going to be a bad week or a bad year. Yeah. You're always going to be overshadowed by grief. But I think that, like, where was I going with this?
I don't know, but you're spitting. Keep going.
But I'm flowing. But no, I think what I'm trying to say basically is that, like, one thing about grief that, you know, yeah, exactly. It can either hit you in your tracks, and it doesn't tend to. That's why it comes in waves. But, like, when if you really deep the permanence of it, I think you can get into a really ugly place. Yeah. And I think that is one of the biggest learning curves with grief, is that you have to learn to channel permanence into something that is, like, always moving. I think when I say permanent, it's still, but it's actually not. It's like evolving, because, I mean, nothing in life is, like, really permanent, is it? Like, you know, I physically lost my dad, but I know that, you know, whatever I do going forward, he's a part of it, and I know you feel the same as well.
You carry their legacy with you.
Yeah,
yeah. So you do everything I do now. I have with Vince in my mind, and same with your dad. Like, you are a better person because you carry them with you every day. The other thing we were kind of talking about was, with the end of relationships, is not leaving anything on a bad note. And when I cut off my dad, and after Vince died, I actually reached out to him again to say, even though it is painful and I don't want you in my life, I still love you and I still care about you and I wish you well. And I think we were talking earlier about how grief really shifts your perspective of not leaving things unsaid, but also you swallow your pride a lot more.
So much more. Like I had it with like you know, a dear friendship, and it just ended up being that we weren't meant to be on the same path anymore. And after Vince passed away, actually, I remember it was soon after his funeral, I was like, oh my God, like things really can just happen, and I can't settle knowing that I haven't said what I need to. And like me and my friend, like we I wouldn't say we ended things on bad terms, it just fizzled out, but I remember being like, no, I have so much love for this person, and I always will, but they have to know it, and it has to be in a way like your dad, where you go, I don't want anything from this message, but I have to say it to get it off my chest. And it is swallowing your pride, because at the time you're like, no, I'm moving on, I'm on to better things now. But the reality is, no, I've still got a lot of love for that person, and whether that means that I'm better or not without them, and they're better or not without me, love doesn't go.
Yeah.
You know, it's always there, and you do have to swallow your pride and just go like, yeah, you know, we might not be on the same path anymore, but God, I love you.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
not God, but maybe.
Christian now.
Yeah, a lot can happen in half an hour.
God, I feel like that was an emotional roller coaster, that episode.
No, but I remember Suze, big ups coming back. Like, she was like, how do you guys, I'm surprised you guys haven't cried yet. And I guess that, like,
episode 13. Unlucky for some.
Oh my God!
Crying's not unlucky though, actually.
No, crying's good, and crying's, you know, you need to cry, and the difficult conversations need to be had, because grief is permanent, and, you know, we are always, for the rest of our lives, going to struggle with grief, and every single person is, whether it's the loss of a person, the loss of a relationship, the loss of a pet. I mean, that's agonising. The loss of, well, this pair of socks that I'm now not matching, you know. Like, once I was looking down at 2 sets of donuts, and now I've got a donut and a chili.
I quite like it though.
Thanks,
spicy
Maz.
donut.
Cheers, Maz.
But no, I think it's such a good point. Like, it just changes shape, doesn't it, over time? And yeah, some days, some weeks, some amount of time is always harder than others, and you know, you just keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward.
But yeah.
Permanence isn't stillness. I think that's if we're doing a lesson lost today. It's not, is it? Like, it's like, permanence doesn't mean like, oh,
feel this way forever.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to get at. I'm picturing it in my head as like just a stone, not a gravestone, but like, I guess that would be fitting. But a stone, it's just like, you know, yeah, like this is the reality now, but also like, life's gonna change.
Yeah.
And it always does.
You grow with your grief.
You do. You do. You do. We always do that. And then we'll laugh and we'll go,
Do you want to finish off?
I don't know what to say. I think that was a really powerful episode.
It was, minus, so we've actually had to cut a lot out of this episode, because at the start
we were laughing.
I couldn't stop laughing. She was saying something bloody serious, and I'm there like,
just laughing in my face.
And then there's the one that's crying. Me, tables turned. But no, I felt it was a really good episode. I think sometimes we think a bit too deep into loads of stuff to cover, but actually just having one topic
and just flows, like, yeah. And I think permanence is a really depressing part of grief, because that is the hardest thing, I guess, isn't it? So it's nice, kind of. No, it's very nice to talk about it. And hopefully our listeners can resonate with it. And we do want to stress as well that this isn't about bereavement. You know, grief takes many shapes, and, you know, the feelings spread across, like, you know, it's like a blanket term almost, isn't it? Like, you know, you can grieve a relationship, as you were saying about your dad, and like, you can grieve friendships, you can grieve relationships, you can grieve pets, you can grieve anything that you've lost and it hurts you in that way, then yeah, it's grief. So bye.
Bye guys, love you.